Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us here at the Houston SPCA, the campus for all animals. I'm your host for today's Pet Podcast, Dr. Roberta Westbrook, and today we have more wonderful information for you. So if you've tuned in today, get your questions ready, because what I want to help you with today is more tips about the upcoming holidays, particularly Thanksgiving is coming up. We are ready to eat. Let me tell you, our mouths are already watering, but that also means our pets might also be getting excited too. We're going to have family over, food, and we want to give you some safety tips to make sure that you and your pets have a wonderful, safe holiday with your family and friends. So think about your questions. And in the meantime, consider coming on down to our campus and looking at some of our pets that are up for adoption. We've got dogs and cats and puppies and kittens, and you don't need an appointment to come on down and see them. You can bring your family. We just require face masks to enter the building, but it can be a fun day for all. So come on out and meet some of our pets. I want to show you one of our wonderful dogs that we have up available for adoption that is ready to go home with you. And his name is Dexter. This is cute Dexter here. Look at him. So full of energy, would make a wonderful family pet. Dexter came to us really from an abusive situation. He was brought in by our cruelty and investigations team. And initially we thought Dexter is going to need some time to settle in. But Dexter has really found his comfort zone. He has really blossomed. We see his personality now. He loves to play. He's very active. So he would be a perfect dog. If you have an active lifestyle, you go running or hiking, or you have a family, this would be a great dog. And we have lots of other dogs just like Dexter. So Dexter is there with Lisa, taking some treats, doing some tricks. And he's just one of our many dogs that we have available. So as you're taking a look at Dexter again, come on, throw me your questions about the Thanksgiving holiday or upcoming holidays. And I will get started about some of the tips that you should be aware of as you are traveling and bringing family to your home. One of the things I'd like to talk about is food. So Thanksgiving is a wonderful holiday where we love to indulge in delicious foods that may not be available throughout the year. But remember, there are some foods that your pets cannot have, and we want to remind you of those. Some of these I've mentioned. If you've been joining me for these pet podcasts, you've probably heard me talk about some of these things before, but it can't be mentioned enough because we want to make sure everyone stays healthy. So things that you might want to stay away from. Thanksgiving foods often contain a large amount of onions and garlic. Onions and garlic. We have some examples here, things that you're going to be using to put in your stuffing or any other meal that you're making. Remember, onions and garlic are toxic to dogs and cats. When they ingest onions and garlic, it actually affects the red blood cells. And the red blood cells are important for carrying oxygen. And if they get too much onion and garlic, it can actually prevent their blood from carrying oxygen appropriately, and it can cause them having difficulty breathing. So it could potentially be fatal. Stay away from onions and garlic, and let's keep our pets away from these things. Okay, so that's onions and garlic. You also want to make sure that we're talking about bones as well. So you're going to have turkey, you're going to have ham, particularly turkey is going to have bones, and you've cooked that turkey. So what winds up happening is the bones become softer when you cook it. And that means that as your pet chews those bones, they become softer, they splinter. And when your pet swallows them, they have a higher chance of causing what we call gastrointestinal perforation. What that means is the sharp edges of the bone can penetrate the stomach, penetrate the intestine, causing severe leakage of those organs. This can also be life-threatening, but can, in less life-threatening scenarios, require surgery to remove the bones and the blockage. So please do not feed your pets these things over Thanksgiving. Related to that is the fat and oil content in some of the foods that we're going to be having. I mean, the butter, the oil, these things can definitely cause GI upset, pancreatitis, diarrhea, because your pet's not used to having large amounts of butter and oil. And so when you're cooking with those things, please remember that those can cause GI upset in our pets, and we don't want your pets to experience pancreatitis. That can be life-threatening and require hospitalization. So those are just a few things. Keep your pets away from onions, garlic, cooked bones, and fatty foods. What else can I help you with?
Well, Kristen wants to know, and I think we all want to know this, how can I gently stop my non-pet owning relatives from sneaking food to my dog?
Yes. What a great question, because if you have family coming over, they may not know if they don't have a pet and they want to spoil your pet, especially if your pet is sitting with those cute big eyes at them under the dinner table begging for food. And so you might want to tell them before they come. I don't know if you've sent out invitations. You could put something on the invitation saying, we are a pet-friendly home. We welcome your pets, but we would ask that you please not feed the pets because we want to keep them safe. So that's something you can put on the invitations ahead of time if you send those out. But even as your family arrives, let them know they may be interested in meeting your pet. So as they meet your pet, you can say, this is my pet Cloudy. That's my dog's name. Or Dexter. This is my pet Cloudy. Or this is my pet Dexter. He's going to be in our environment during this holiday. Please don't feed him. We want to make sure that he doesn't get sick. He's on a strict diet. And you can say that and your family will certainly understand. So I think as they visit, don't be shy about letting them know what your house rules are. Good question.
Kristen has a follow-up. How do I keep my cats off the counter while I'm making larger spreads?
What if you let us know that when we figure it out? I think we're all trying to figure out how to keep cats off counters. So what you might have to do is not allow them in the kitchen. If cats know that you're cooking and they're interested in it, they smell the chicken, they smell the turkey, they are going to want to jump up there, particularly if they're used to doing it. So probably the best way is just to keep them completely separate. And you may want to start doing that days leading up, right? Because you're going to be cooking. And so you're going to be wanting to keep the kitchen very clean. You're going to be wanting to make sure there's not pet hair in the kitchen. So for a few days before, you may want to start keeping your cat out of the kitchen. And then maybe it won't be such a shock on the day of Thanksgiving when your family comes over. But yeah, that's a good question.
Alexi wants to know if she can feed her dog apple pie.
Oh, apple pie, delicious. So a few things about that. You can feed pets apple. The thing that you want to stay away from, we actually have some examples of that here. So apples can be a safe treat for pets. You do want to avoid the core and the seeds of the apple because those can be toxic. But if you're using something like an apple sauce, or if you're using, just sliced apples, that's okay. Now, again, if you're using a lot of butter, or, other ingredients that we're not quite sure, nuts in your apple pie or those types of things, you may not want to feed your pets any apple pie. I would say, again, minimal ingredients and minimal things outside of their regular diet. But that's a good question. You can use a little bit of apple sauce or sliced apples for that.
Are there certain kind of nuts that are safe for pets, or is it better to avoid all of them?
I would avoid all nuts just to be careful. Certainly nuts like pecans, walnuts, those things, particularly in high amounts, can cause GI upset. Small amounts of peanuts are not typically toxic. Really what we're worried about with nuts is the fat content and causing vomiting and diarrhea. So just limit it or just avoid it to be safe for the nuts. And that's going to be in a lot of our desserts. So just make sure that you are avoiding those. Now, you might be wondering, okay, that's a lot of things that I can't feed my pet. But there are a lot of things that you can. You can go to your local pet store or natural pet food shop. Drop something. And they make wonderful pet safe treats that have Thanksgiving themes. If you want to find treats that you can offer your pet during the times that you guys are eating. So there's certainly things that you can do. Don't feel like you are depriving your pet. Get some pet safe treats with Thanksgiving themes, and they can enjoy those right with you.
What about some gatherings where I know For my family, my brother likes to bring over my dog's cousins. So is there a way to introduce them? Is it better to do them beforehand, or how do you avoid if you know dogs don't get along?
Yes. So if you are going to have additional pets that maybe your pets have never met before, it may not always be possible to do an introduction early. If you could do an introduction early, obviously that'd be great. So you have an idea about how your pets are going to interact. But what you may want to do is talk to your other family member about how you're going to house the pets while you're in the same home. Does one pet need to be crated? Can the pets stay outdoors during a mealtime? And so as long as there's a plan for that, so that there's no fights that break out and everyone stays safe, I think it's okay. Obviously, an early meeting would be helpful. Meeting outside in neutral ground on a walk so that they get to know each other in a very comfortable environment and without lots of people. Because again, this is going to be new for some pets. If your pets have been just used to you over the last year or so, and now there may be 10 or 15 or 20 people coming together, that's a lot of newness that your pets are going to have to process. Not only are they processing new people, but they're processing new pets, and they're also processing all the smells, all of the food. And so that overstimulation could mean that you see some behaviors that maybe you're not used to. So try to minimize that by talking to your veterinarian to see if there's any medication that your pet needs to try to calm them, particularly if they have a history of anxiety. But don't be afraid to use your crate. Don't be afraid to put your pet in a kennel for a few hours, leash them when you're taking them out for a walk, keeping them separate from other pets that they may not get along with, and then returning them back to the kennel with a toy, with a treat, so that they don't feel like they're missing too much of the action.
So Patricia wants to know if she can feed her dog stuffing, and obviously without the onions and the garlic.
Yes. So depends on what else you put in there, but essentially like the bread is going to be fine, probably not harmful, but be careful about the seasoning that you put in there. Again, salt or garlic, even sometimes the seasonings can cause GI upset, and literally anything that is not part of your dog's regular diet could potentially cause some type of GI upset, including vomiting and or diarrhea. So if you can come up with pet safe recipes and that you can find online, you can find multiple pet safe recipes online that can be substitutes for some of our typical Thanksgiving meals. That would be a great idea.
So Lexi wants to know, what are some good things, healthy things that she can maybe do some research on, but as far as recipe goes, in terms of like peanut butter and some other things that she already has in her cabinet?
Absolutely. Peanut butter, cheeses, little small slices of cheese, green beans, for example, broccoli, asparagus, carrots. Those things are healthy and able to be fed to your pets. But now remember, you may be making a green bean casserole for Thanksgiving, and oftentimes that has onion in it as well. So you have to be careful about sometimes the hidden ingredients in those recipes. So, but plain green beans that you can get out of a can. And listen, your pets are going to be happy to get any sort of treat. So don't feel like sometimes, we want to spoil our pets, and we're sitting at the table eating and we want to give them exactly what we're eating, but your pets don't know. They're happy to get a treat. And so even if you're eating with a plate at the table, have some treats, next to you that you can just reach and give them. They're not going to realize, oh, that didn't come from your plate. They're going to be happy to get a treat. They're going to be happy to receive something from you. So there's certainly alternatives, and you don't have to feel like you have to give them exactly what we are eating. Peanut butter is a great safe treat as well. But again, everything in moderation, because sometimes peanut butters can have high amounts of oil, high amounts of fat, and some peanut butters may also have what we call xylitol, which is a compound that actually can lower their blood sugar. So make sure you're looking at all of the ingredients and making sure that they're safe and things that you recognize.
So Joe wanted to know, how do you avoid that whole embarrassing thing of like your dog running around the table and begging? Is it a good idea to put them outside or away from family during the meal, or is that just too cruel?
Well, I do think it depends on the family, but yes, if you have all your family members are used to that, maybe they're pet friendly, maybe they're not scared of pets, because you have some family members who are scared of pets and maybe not know how to behave around them. And that can actually create some problem as well, because it could be the human behavior, not the pet's behavior. So get to know the people who are coming to your house. Are they used to pets? Are they scared of pets? Do you know if it's going to bother them if you have multiple pets running around? You may opt to let people know ahead of time. I have a household that welcomes pets. I plan on having my pets free roaming. If you're comfortable with that, great. If not, great. I want to let you know that. So you can set your house rules ahead of time. If you feel comfortable, though, and you want to have your family over and your pet is okay and used to being in a crate or used to spending time outside, that's certainly an option, so that they're still there. They're still with you. You can still interact with them, and they get a little bit more outside time, or maybe they get a little bit of quiet time in their crate, and either is perfectly fine. I think our pets appreciate the attention and the love that we give them. And as long as we prep them ahead of time, I think everything should be fine.
So Patrick wanted to know what happens inevitably. Your dog gets into the trash and there's turkey carcass and stuffing everywhere. Is there something that a pet owner needs to do?
A visit to the veterinarian. So you just may never know what they got into when they're getting into the trash. They're destroying the trash oftentimes, trying to get to whatever they're smelling. And you may not know exactly what they got into. I think that is a good time to make a phone call or a visit to your veterinarian. Let them know that your pet got into the trash. And it could be as simple as your veterinarian doing a physical exam, palpating the belly to see if they feel anything abnormal, particularly pain, because when pets ingest things like bones or it's causing GI upset, sometimes they'll have a painful belly. And then your veterinarian may opt to also do x-rays of the belly to see if there's any bones in there that are stuck or that look like they could cause problems. And so I would say if you have something happen like that, I would call your veterinarian and let them decide how extensive the treatment and diagnostic testing should be. And sometimes it's just wait and see. Sometimes it's that you just kind of wait and see if they're going to show any abnormal clinical signs. And if they don't, great, we've avoided a tragedy.
So Stacy kind of has a follow-up question to that, and that is, with the large gathering, everybody is getting lots of green beans and all the things all the humans are behaving around the table, but slipping healthy things, too many healthy things to dogs. Can they get stomach aches? And if they are, what do you do?
Absolutely. So, we want to give them healthy treats, but everything needs to be in moderation. So this is a time where they can easily get spoiled, right? And they can easily get too much of a good thing. And although that may not cause a toxicity or may not be life-threatening, as long as the treats are healthy, it certainly could just cause them stomach upset. It's just like us when we indulge, we get a really full belly and you're uncomfortable for sometimes hours or days afterwards. The same thing can happen to our pets. So again, setting some house rules and limiting how much treats your pets get, and just letting all of your company know, I'm happy for you to interact with my dog or my cat. These are treats that I would like you to offer them, and you can limit it. Have a jar of treats. This is going to be the jar of treats. Once they're gone, they're gone. So we'll have to limit it that way. But that's a good question. There can be too much of a good thing.
Should pet owners, knowing that there's going to be quite a few pets at their meal, maybe have a little separate Thanksgiving table just for them?
That would be adorable, a separate little Thanksgiving table. So yes, I would consider feeding them separately. Again, make sure that you know how the pets behave in the home. What if you have a pet that has potential food aggression? So not all pets are comfortable eating around other pets. And we don't want any fights to break out over food. So talk to your family members and try to get an idea about whether the pets that are going to be in the home are food aggressive, whether they have a history of fighting over food, because that's the last thing that you need on Thanksgiving. And maybe consider feeding them not only away from the people, but away from each other. So that might be a great time to use your crate and feed each animal inside their crate so that you can limit any opportunity for them to fight over food.
Rochelle wanted to know, is it okay for them to get a couple of bites of turkey? And if you do, is it better to give them the dark meat or the white meat?
So that's a great question. Can they have a few bites of turkey? And yes, things that you might want to avoid is the skin. So the skin tends to have higher fat content and where all of the seasoning is, and that might be more likely to cause stomach upset. So if you're just, tearing off a few pieces, it doesn't matter so much whether it's dark meat or white meat. Just make sure that it doesn't have a lot of seasoning on it. Many of you out there may have taken your pets to the veterinarian in the past for a stomach upset, and we will actually prescribe a diet of turkey and chicken and rice to help calm your pet's stomach. So it's not harmful to give your pets turkey or chicken. What we are trying to avoid is the seasonings and the fat associated with it. So that means, again, no seasoning and take the skin off and it should be fine. White rice, brown rice with not a lot of butter or sauce in it is also fine. And those are also good alternatives that you can offer your pets for this holiday.
So Chris wanted to know, what is the best way to cook vegetables? Is it better from a can? Is it better for fresh? Do you steam it? Do you boil it? Do you microwave it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm not sure that it matters too much for our pets. What we just want to avoid is a lot of the oils. So if you're going to be, cooking it, and it's very oily or you've put a lot of butter in it, that's what's going to cause the GI upset, potentially pancreatitis for our pets. So they're not used to having that much oil. And one of the main problems health-wise with fatty foods, butter, grease, is pancreatitis. And so however you're cooking those, cook them however you want to for your family, and just for your pets, make sure that you're giving them something that doesn't have a lot of those oils and fats in it. So you could use canned green beans. That's what we have here. And you can just boil them on the stove in some water and don't put a lot of seasoning on it. That's fine. You can use fresh green beans. That's perfectly fine too. Remember, sometimes canned foods have higher salt contents as well. Again, in small amounts, not a huge problem for your pets, but still something in moderation. There's been so much good information here. We can go on and on. We want to keep your pets healthy this holiday, so consider getting some pet-friendly treats and new and exciting things coming up for the Houston SPCA. Starting November 26th, the Friday after Thanksgiving, we are launching our Neiman Marcus Adoption Partnership, Home for the Holidays. You can visit the Neiman Marcus department store in the Galleria and take a look at all of our wonderful pets that are going to be in the windows, in these living windows in Neiman Marcus. You're going to be able to adopt pets there, and get more information about the Houston SPCA and all that we do for the animals in our community. Following that, we have a wonderful event called Giving Tuesday. If you are wondering what kind of work we do, you are interested in what we do behind the scenes and how you can help us, please tune in to Facebook on Giving Tuesday. That's Tuesday, November 30th. All day, we're going to have live coverage. You're going to be able to follow our teams throughout the hospital and the adoption center and see what we do to do our life-saving work for the animals across the city of Houston. So please join us. We're happy to have you. We've got lots of exciting things going on this holiday season. So come on down. And if you can't come on down, visit Neiman Marcus in the Galleria or watch Giving Tuesday live on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us again. Happy Friday. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Roberta Westbrook. We'll see you next week.